We're here with Meredith Beal and Clinton Benton, and we're just nostalgia and recollections. A few minutes ago, you mentioned one of the people who inspired you to pursue your educational goals and achieve a Ph.D. was the example set by Dr. Christine Benton Cash, which was one of how many daughters did he have? 4 or 5? Jim Benton. So Maddie, sister Barbara, Lucretia. So 5 girls, 1 boy.
Yeah.
So from someone who couldn't read, who had daughters who graduated from college and one going on to receive a PhD. In a time, I guess that was 1948, that she received her PhD from University of Wisconsin. But if you could each tell me a little bit about your recollections of hanging out with sister, or okay.
First of all, I'm going to tell you about Dr. Christine B. Cash. She was one of the first black women to head up a high school in the area, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, whatever. It was a boarding high school out in the country, like 10 miles from the nearest city. And she demanded that you do good. I would go up there in the summertime and help work around the buildings, doing carpentry, painting, whatever, and finally wind up typing for her, driving her over to visit other universities, and broaden my mind as to what a person can do if they have the right mind. In other words, no matter what it is, you can cope with it. So that would be, you will have been able to withstand certain obstacles that ordinarily a other person would ignore. So she would say you can do it, and I'd never forget that. And so she would act like you need to do this to get along in life, and I never will forget that. And along with my grandfather, he had 5 daughters, and each one of them, James Benton, each one of them graduated from college, which is kind of a feat that was unusual back in the day. It's somewhat unusual now for all of them to graduate from the same college, Bishop College in Marshall, Texas. And so that I will never forget. Neither he nor his wife, my grandmother, could write their name. They signed X's on seen deeds that wherein they put X's on them. And that was testimony to their faith in God and whoever to do what is necessary to succeed in life.
And that school was Center Point?
Center Point, out of Pittsburgh, Texas.
Okay.
The boarding high school, none of which there was only one other I know of, Piney Woods, Mississippi. And we visited there, and she got some more ideas from that to improve her school, the school that she was principal of. I said her school. But that school had buildings like a college, a boys dormitory, girls dormitory, administration building, shop building, home economic building, filling station, and the boys built almost all the buildings that housed that facility.
Wow. Tell me about her civil rights activities that either of you are aware of.
I'm not especially aware of her civil rights activities, because I think her husband, as I remember, was very active in the NAACP, and I think in the area where they live, he was the president of the NAACP. I believe I heard that.
That's Larry Brown Cash?
Yeah, yes. And so I heard more about her husband's activity with the civil rights than I did hers.
Mm-hmm. And was he active in the Marshall area or where?
This was in Pittsburgh,
Texas.
Pittsburgh,
Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a minister.
Yes, I heard that he was a minister.
And what did he specialize in? Was it
Agriculture.
agriculture?
Yeah.
And I heard that they had started planting fish or farming fish quite some time ago. You know anything about that?
No.
No, I don't. One of the things that I'm sorry, go on. One of the things that I'm aware of that she was also in Who's Who, listed in Who's Who of Texas, I believe. And of course, I did not have the earlier contact with her that Meredith had. Yes.
I think there was Who's Who in Negro America.
Okay, Who's Who in Negro America. And that was quite an accomplishment to be listed among the Who's Who. I also remember her in later years that she was honored here in Los Angeles. I think that was sometime in the 60s.
Yeah.
In the 60s, a special honor at one of our hotels, and it was just a tremendous honor that was bestowed upon her by those who had graduated from Centerpoint, who are living in the California area and in other areas of Texas, came to this event, and it was just something to behold that I remember going to and seeing her being honored and receiving awards and so forth for her accomplishments, and I remember that about her.
Great.
In all of her travels, etc., having survived a serious automobile accident, she accomplished a lot of these things afterward, and she died at the age of 99.
I still want to just go back just briefly to her accomplishments of receiving a Ph.D. at the time that she did, living in Texas, but at a time when if blacks were going to get higher degrees, they had to go north. And she ended up going to the University of Wisconsin. And just to reflect on those times, it was not just the earning of a Ph.D., but what she had to overcome to earn a Ph.D. You know, not just the fact that she had the intellect to do that, but the conditions in which she lived, she was able to accomplish that at that early date in our history. And it just so happens, I know this is not directly related to that, but in a sense indirectly, I happen to be a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And we are celebrating 100 years of being a fraternity in this year, 2011, in Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, where Kappa Alpha Psi was founded. Again, a northern university, and that was at the time when sororities, fraternities, and many of the originating of many of our institutions and our organizations were taking place in the early 1900s, and that's at the time that she was making these strides and up north. And so I kind of put all of this together and see now that we are beneficiaries of what they did and standing on their shoulders, and yet here I am now celebrating part of this history 100 years later. And so it's quite humbling to think about it now.
Great.
I was headed home, and the train from D.C. to St. Louis, Baltimore, Ohio. That's when trains were packed in World War II. And so we got to, they had to change stations. Get off one train, go a block further, get on another train, another station, which I was the first one on. First one on there, sit right next to the baggage car. First person sitting there. Finally, the train started filling up from the front. Then you sit, the black sit in the front behind the baggage car. On the bus, you sit in the back. So, a fellow sitting down next to me got loaded. I mean, the train got loaded. So pretty soon, a couple standing up there, a Caucasian couple, man, his wife, and two kids. A little boy about 2, and a little baby in arms. So he started taking up tickets. He said, you boys got to get up and let this couple sit down. So I never changed the expression. I'm looking out the window, I'm sweating. My temperature must have been 150. So this fellow was sitting next to me, was a big fella. He was older than I, he was 30 probably. So he said, "You ever there?" I said, "Yeah, I was there. I'm not getting up." So he stood there another few seconds, I don't know, seconds, minutes, and he got up. So they saw I wasn't still gonna get up. My two dude was that high. And so finally, the lady sat down and sit the little boy between us, and the little boy, the little one, on the arm, and he was just squirming and going to act like he didn't even see him. Nothing ever happened, but it could have, because the train started moving. When it started moving, he started going back that way. And so I saw the fellas, the man sitting on a few seats back behind me. So I raised my hand up and I told him, I said, "You come up and change seat with me if you want." And he did, and that ended it. But I'm talking about, when they talk about Road Park, that could have been.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.